Hey everyone, Dave K here today, diving into a Doctor Strange review, taking a closer look at Doctor Strange's abilities coming to Marvel Super War. Super excited to get some gameplay going on as Doctor Strange. You may know that first season is coming up, so they're going to be launching that first season January 19th, still in select regions, and then after that first season, hopefully we'll see some rollout to a global scale, but they will be releasing Doctor Strange coming up real soon as well with that season 1. So let's take a closer look at Doctor Strange's abilities, what he's all about, what I think of him, how you could utilize Doctor Strange. Let's get to it. Starting off with Doctor Strange's passive ability. If you take a closer look at Doctor Strange's passive ability, you may see that he's able to leave behind these ghostly forms, and these may happen over a period of time, as well as when he drops below that 50% health mark. So when Doctor Strange drops below 50% health, and as he continues to get attacked after he's below 50% health, he leaves behind these little ghostly forms. So each damage he takes, he leaves behind that ghostly form, and he's able to sort of dash away from it so that he's able to try to escape that enemy. So this could be a great way if you find yourself as a mage being attacked by a jungler or something along those lines to make a kind of dash away escape. But another thing on this passive ability is you'll see it ties into another one of his abilities as we continue on here, that first ability. So it's really cool to see he's able to utilize that passive, that escape technique, to try to tie in his enemies and try to escape from them more efficiently. That first ability allows Doctor Strange to be able to teleport back to one of those ghostly forms that he'd left behind. So really cool to see. You can kind of flash away, for example. If you'll see in the trailer, if you watch the Doctor Strange first look trailer, that he flashes away, he blinks away from that first kind of ghostly form that he leaves behind, and then he uses that first ability to teleport himself physically back to that ghostly form. So kind of cool how he's able to manipulate time and space to be able to travel back to that previous point, and that could be a great way to get away from some enemies, right? Let's say someone's chasing you around, they're trying to chase you through the jungle or something along those lines. You can teleport back to that ghostly form, and maybe your team has caught up to that point at this point. So maybe you had your reinforcements head a particular direction, you left a ghostly form back there, you started to flash away, and then you teleport back to that ghostly form, and your whole team is waiting there to be able to then gank that jungler. So you can really utilize this ability in a great way in terms of escaping the enemy, as well as coordinating with your team and making sure that you're available in the right location to really support your team, right? Because with a lot of that magic power, a lot of that magic damage that you can do as a power mage type character in Marvel Super War can be really, really useful if you can stay alive for your team. So being able to teleport back to that ghostly form and be there with your team when you get into those team fights can be huge. So that's just something to keep in mind. Really, really good ability in terms of pairing and partnering with that passive power to make sure you can keep yourself alive and be there for those team fights. Ability number 2 for Doctor Strange in Marvel Super War, taking a closer look at some of his abilities here. He fires off this kind of beam ray. It's like a shot. The shot fires off, and it deals damage to the opponent, but also substantially slows the opponent. So this ability is good for dealing damage. It's not super significant in terms of damage it looks like it deals, at least early on in the game, but it also slows your enemy. So again, great way to kind of control the board. And as someone who is a mage who wants to deal that magical damage, who wants to also make sure he's able to protect himself and escape those dangerous situations, really, really useful to have those slow abilities. You may utilize this again for pursuing that enemy, trying to take them down, or you may also use it to escape from the enemy. You may say, let me fire this shot at them so I can run away even faster. Overall, I think this is a great ability for Doctor Strange as well, even on its own without tying it to any of those other abilities, because it does control a little bit of that board. It does do that slow. It allows him to make that great escape, or it allows him to pursue that enemy and finish them off, and that can be really, really useful for a mage-type hero in this game, where you really want to be able to do a particular type of damage to a particular type of people. So you want to make sure that you can control the board movement and control which enemies are close enough to you or which enemies are able to escape you so that you can do exactly what needs to be done. For that third ability is super, super cool. Creates a teleportation realm. He's got 2 portals. He opens up a portal in front of him, and you've got that portal off in the distance, and he is able to teleport through that portal in order to, again, pursue an enemy, escape an enemy, or be able to deal some major damage to an enemy. He's got the ability to launch his abilities. This is really, really cool, too. He can launch his abilities And it looks like his teammates as well can launch their abilities through that portal. So you can throw some of your damage. Let's say you're playing with a Star-Lord, and Star-Lord can throw his abilities through that portal as well for you. So you can deal some major damage to an enemy in a location off at a distance, so you don't have to get too close to them, or at the same time teleport yourself to that location to be able to go in to do some major damage, or to make a great escape. Really, really cool ability to be able to manipulate the board in that way, where he kind of bridges the gap of two parts of the field, creates that portal. I haven't seen any other character in Marvel Super War that has that potential. You know Ghost, and you may have seen Ghost, and my Ghost gameplay and review has the ability to really move across the board quickly and kind of teleport herself in that trans-dimensional astral form to be able to really move places quickly and that kind of thing. But she doesn't have the same ability as Doctor Strange here in terms of being able to stay a distance away and launch his abilities through it, which I think, in my opinion, is even cooler because he's not at risk being able to launch his abilities through there. He doesn't have to worry about getting up to that front line and taking that damage. Also, it allows his companions, his colleagues, to be able to launch their abilities into that portal as well. Whereas with Ghost's ability, although she's able to move in there fast and do a lot of damage, she's not quite able to help her allies be there with her as well. So really cool that Doctor Strange is able to take the effects of his whole team, bring them together to launch this major catastrophic damage to his enemies. Super, super cool ability. I think that this is probably one of my favorites so far with Doctor Strange, at least for his basic abilities. Really, really cool to be able to create those portals, teleport through them. It looks like maybe he can also teleport enemies through the portal as well, so he can kind of flip his location and an enemy's location, or teleport an enemy to him as opposed to teleporting himself to an enemy. Have to see how this one plays out as they continue to develop these abilities and as Doctor Strange comes to life in Marvel Super War, but I'm super excited for it. Looks like it's got so much potential. You know Doctor Strange is one of my favorite Marvel characters as well. Super, super cool one. These abilities are going to be so awesome to see with Doctor Strange, so we'll see how it goes. And diving into his ultimate ability, Doctor Strange's ultimate ability deals some heavy-duty mage magic power damage. He launches this sort of rock beam, and then once that rock hits, you'll see a whole storm comes in from above, raining down on those enemies, dealing a significant amount of damage, but also slowing those enemies. And it looks like it's got a pretty good area of effect as well. If you look at the range of this ability, you'll see it's got quite a range to it. So really cool to see that he's able to do that damage, continue with that sort of slow theme, which is really important for him as a mage, and be able to help his team control the board and help him control the board so he can escape those situations or pursue those enemies, and at the same time be able to do a heavy-duty amount of damage in this particular area. I feel like this is a really, really great ultimate ability for him. You know, another one I'm kind of comparing this to is like the Milano with Star-Lord, where he's got that similarly large area of effect that kind of moves across the board. I feel like that one's a lot better for maybe clearing those lane minions, but not quite as good for dealing with the enemy heroes, whereas this one really pins down those enemy heroes with that slow field, as well as you can place it right on the middle of them, which is great, and it doesn't move around for you. It stays in that one place, exactly where you want that major catastrophic damage to be dealt. So really, really good ultimate ability. Ties really well into his transportation, teleportation, slow, kind of board control, and damage feel. So that's kind of my takeaway from Doctor Strange here, is he's really all about that sort of combination of board control and making sure that people are slowed or teleporting himself to different locations, as well as being able to deal that magic power and being able to really deal out those heavy-duty attacks. He's got that beam that deals damage. This ultimate ability deals some great damage as well. So really interesting to see how they tie in the slow and the board control abilities to the more damaging abilities with Doctor Strange. Considering that and thinking a little bit more about what items I might want for Doctor Strange, there's a couple things that come to mind for me, and one of those would definitely be you want to make sure that you're acquiring some items in the game, in the shop, some build items that can give you a lot of magic damage and mage powers, right? You're thinking about ability power and not attack damage if you're coming from a League of Legends background as well. You want to make sure you're getting abilities that can buff that ability to do magic damage, as well as a cooldown reduction. You want to keep in mind the ability to reduce the cooldown to be able to do those abilities that much faster, because the abilities do seem useful. Now, I'm not so sure that Doctor Strange really needs his abilities as much as some other characters really rely on their abilities, but I think it would be nice to have that cooldown reduction so you can constantly escape those situations or teleport into those situations or slow those enemies. If you can get some cooldown reduction for that, I think that would be super useful. Another thing that comes to mind for me, of course, is boots. You want to make sure you've got enough speed to be able to run into those situations or to run out of those situations that you may find to be a little bit more dangerous. Overall, I feel like Doctor Strange is going to be super, super awesome in Marvel Super War. Really looks like he's getting set up nicely. I'll tell you right now, one of my favorites in the mid lane, which is why I said Icely, is Iceman. I really enjoy Iceman in the mid lane for his ability to slow and control those enemies, as well as to deal some major damage. So I feel like Doctor Strange is going to have some major competitive power here in terms of being a really, really good mid lane champ. And as we're getting ready to roll out this game at a global scale, and we're building up this roster, I'm really excited to see what amazing champs come to the game. Looks like Doctor Strange has a lot of promise, and I'm really, really excited for him. So I haven't had the chance to play him yet, but I want to say Doctor Strange is probably going to be in an upper tier. That being said, he's probably going to be very difficult to play as well. You need to be able to manage where you're placing those beams, where you're leaving those ghosts, which ghost you want to teleport back to, and how you're determining which one's best to teleport back to. How you're leaving them in place is a weird concept as well. Maybe you know when you put that first ability down, this is the one I'm coming back to, and then you can activate the ability again for another 10 seconds to teleport back to it. We'll see how that ends up playing out, but seems like he's got a lot of potential to be a great mid lane champ, but also seems like he might be very challenging to play. I'm super excited to get him tested and to get him started, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. What do you think? Do you think he's going to be a great champ? Do you think he's going to be difficult to play? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of this Doctor Strange review? If you liked it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to let me know you liked it. Super excited to see Doctor Strange in Marvel Super War. And if you enjoyed this video, if you haven't already, for more fun Marvel Super War reviews, gameplay, and more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay informed. And feel free to join us on Twitch sometime, where we live stream some Marvel Super War at twitch.tv/DaveK. You can find that link in the description below. Thanks so much for being a part of the fun with me today, and until next time, play on.